President Biden visits Puerto Rico. That's as thousands still remain without power 2 weeks after Hurricane Fiona hit the island. NTD's Iris Tao has more on what the president is vowing to do.
We came here in person to show that we're with you.
President Biden is in Puerto Rico. The island's just recovering from Hurricane Fiona, which lashed the region last month and caused widespread flooding and power outages.
For days, people live without power, without water, some still in that circumstance. No idea when to be back again.
As thousands still remain without power, Biden announced $60 million in infrastructure funding for the island. And that money comes from a bipartisan infrastructure law passed last year. White House officials say the funding will shore up levees, strengthen flood walls, and create a new flood warning system to help the island prepare for future storms.
We have to ensure that when the next hurricane strikes, Puerto Rico is ready.
And that's before Biden brings up climate change.
And more extreme weather is going to continue to hit this island and hit the United States overall. And as we rebuild, we have to ensure that we build it to last. We're particularly focused on the power grid.
Biden says he'll give more money to the island to transform its power grid with what he calls clean and reliable energy. Meanwhile, President Biden is traveling to Florida on Wednesday to survey damage sustained by Hurricane Ian. But the White House on Monday declined to say if Florida Governor Ron DeSantis will accompany Biden during his visit. Reporting in Washington, D.C., Iris Tao, NTD News.
The Supreme Court is beginning a new term. The court has added 9 cases to rule on. 2 of them involve the future of internet speech. In Gonzalez versus Google, the justices will consider how much federal law can protect social media companies. Depending on how they rule, Google, Meta, and Twitter may become more likely to be sued. In another case, justices will consider if social media companies can be held responsible for hosting content by groups responsible for violence. In their start to the new term, the justices also declined an appeal on a gun-related issue. They left in place a ban on devices known as bump stocks, which allow shooters to fire semi-automatic rifles continuously with one pull of the trigger. Another sign that U.S. tech giants are leaving China. Google announced it's discontinuing its translation service in the country. The company says people aren't using it enough. Many other Western companies, including Amazon and Microsoft, have also pulled back from Beijing in recent years. They say numerous issues like internet censorship and domestic competition have resulted in the exodus. Google is not completely leaving China, however. Chrome and some other services will still be accessible in the communist nation. Recently, we had a chance to speak with Utah Congressman Burgess Owens about the health of America's education system and some of those issues that are important to voters as we head into the fall elections.
First of all, I love the fact that we've taken this last year of task force polling, going back to our districts, getting feedback to come out with something that's important for Americans. So it's not just us saying this is what we want to make sure happen. We're saying this is what American people are demanding for us. And to say the least, this is the time that I've never seen where more Americans are having this conversation, where we might be in different parts of the aisle there, Democrats, Independents, Republican, but here are the things that we love together. We want to make sure we move forward because we love our kids. And that is, as we know, economies are strong, a nation is safe, a government is accountable, and a future built on freedom. With me, built on freedom says everything. To have a free country, we have to be educated. We have to know our history. We have to know that we are a country built on the idea of becoming a more perfect union. And to have that happen, we need to put power back into the hands of parents so that their child is getting the very best education, being the very best person they can be, and producing for our country, and being innovative moving forward. So the Parents' Bill of Rights is something I'm really excited about. What it says very simply is that the parents are the primary educator. Every child has a kind of given to each one of them a certain amount of dollars, tax dollars. Just imagine that those dollars in a backpack. And that parent saying, based on the school's focus, based on how they respect my child, based on the values, I'm going to put my child in one of these different schools. What that does gives us a meritocracy once again. We should have in the school system, like we have in everything else, fast foods, hotels, there's always meritocracy. The very best are the places to get the best income. Education should be the same way. Those who educate our kids the best have the best teachers, the teachers that want to stay there because they're getting paid the income that they deserve. those are the schools that we should be able to go to, and that will actually, it will eliminate those systems that are not working for our kids. And we need to be able to eliminate the bad and highlight the good. And I'm excited about where we're going with as a party with that in mind.
Congressman, you bring up a lot of interesting points. One thing that comes to mind is the pandemic with the remote learning. It allowed parents to get a glimpse into the curriculum. There's a lot of concerns right now. What are some of yours?
As it should be. What we're realizing is that there has been a left-leaning wing that's been undermining our school system for a long time. We just didn't know it. When you go to California in 2017, 75% of the black boys in the state of California could not pass standard reading and writing tests. That is a disaster. You have Baltimore districts have 0% proficiency in math. The problem is they've been getting away with it because parents, good parents, have sympathy, but they can put their kids in any school system they want to, as long as they're in the right zip code, they have the right income. The pandemic allowed that sympathy to go to empathy because all parents realize none of our kids are being treated right. None of our kids are being educated. None of our kids are being taught to love our country, love each other. With that empathy that Americans are the best at, we now look at solutions that all of us can agree on. So we're in a place now in terms of education that we can disrupt the system that's not been working for over 170 years for us. That's how long the system's been around, by the way. The founder of the education system, Horace Mann, died 20 years before Alexander Bell made the first phone call. That phone call from then has gone out to our cell phones. Education has not changed at all since that time. We need to make sure that meritocracy fits in here, that we can pick the very best for our child, and with that, those who don't give our nation to what we need, then they'll go out of business, which it should be.
Congressman, the teachers union is a very powerful union, and it's become political. And so how concerning is it that one of the largest union, maybe the largest union in the country, is become a political arm of the Democrat Party?
It always has been. When I talked about what happened in California, keep in mind what I just said. 75% of the black boys in the state of California in 2017 could not read and write. That's because of unions. That's because of adults who care more about adults than their kids. That should be a warning signal to all of us. None of us should be happy or think that it's just the way it is with black people, that they cannot pass the ability to talk, to read, to articulate themselves. What happens when we don't give our kids the ability to produce and to compete, they go to crime. So we should not be surprised in California what's going on there. No, the unions have always been our issue. We have to make sure that what the unions have stopped us from doing, that is taking a look at every single option out there. Meritocracy. If public schools work, that's great. If it doesn't, private schools should be an option. If that doesn't, homeschool should be an option. We can have all different types of options. It's all about our children, not about the institution. It's not about these parents. Not about these teachers who are making the administrators for these unions. I'll make that point. My mom and dad were educators, so I know what it is to have teachers who love what they do. We should have an environment in which the very best in our country, whether in the institution or not, could be drawn to teaching because they make the income, they have an impact on these kids, which they want to have, that they can have a career that they're respected, they make a good income, and they're giving back to our nation. So we look forward to make sure that happens and move forward.
Congressman Burgess Owens, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Republican Senator Rick Scott appears optimistic that his party will take back the Senate in the midterm elections. Here's what he told NBC's Meet the Press on Sunday.
I think we're at 52 seats plus. If you look at Biden's numbers are really bad. People have rejected the Biden agenda. We have great candidates. The Democrats have to defend what Biden's done. So I think it's going to be a good November for Republicans.
Scott is the chairman of the Senate Republicans' campaign arm. He says Republicans still have to keep working hard every day. The balance of the Senate could come down to a few states. The senator recently told Politico that Nevada and Georgia are the key battlegrounds for the Senate majority. According to the latest polls in Wisconsin, incumbent Republican Senator Ron Johnson has taken the lead over his Democratic challenger Mandela Barnes. And in Pennsylvania, the latest polls show GOP nominee Mehmet Oz pulling within 2 points of Democratic nominee John Fetterman. Many Americans are worried about a divided government after the November elections. According to an Axios poll, 53% of Americans are concerned that one party will control the Senate and another party controlling the House of Representatives. That concern is higher among Democrats. 64% say they are worried about the outcome compared to 51% of Republicans and 44% of independents. According to the poll, Of those concerned that Republicans will win control of both chambers, 25% say that they fear that the economy or inflation will worsen if that happens. In comparison, of the group that fears Democrats will keep control of both the House and the Senate, 43% said that the economy will get worse if that happens.